Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind Dale, head out to Choth or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions.
Hello, everybody. Ooh, bright lights. Welcome to another edition of Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I'm Gaarawarr, and joining me today is Martin, doing all the production stuff, grabbing questions, managing chat, you know, all those things. Today, we are going to be talking about campaigns. We've done this once before, a long, long time ago. And that episode disappeared into the void. I think the Far Realm opened a portal and sucked it into it. So we're going to do it again. Because honestly, some things have changed. We've got new campaigns. We've got a change to a campaign. We've got lots of people. We've got a champion now that functions, gives you power based off deep pushes in campaigns. And some people are confused about, what that means. So, we're gonna do the thing again. Before we get started, hello everybody. Thanks for showing up. If you have a question about campaigns or anything else in Idle Champions, in the little whitish box down below, put the question before your questions. We do the Q&A in the second half of the stream on this show. So I'll be talking at you for the first hour-ish. Depends on how deep we get into these campaigns. And then I'll answer all the questions. I'll hit the on-topic ones first, but then I'll get whatever else you ask. So it doesn't have to just be, you don't have to just ask questions about campaigns. You can ask them about anything. I reserve the right to not know the answer. I know a lot about this game. After playing it for over 5 years and writing guides for it for over 5 years, but that doesn't mean I know everything, and I'm okay with that. So yeah. One thing real quick before we get started, I'm gonna be playing D&D tonight on stream with the dungeon scrawlers, dungeon scrawlers. They're writers that play D&D, folks. It's in the name. if you want to join us, please do. It's 4 p.m. It starts at 4 p.m. Pacifically on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel. It's literally, I think, just Twitch TV/Dungeon Scrawlers, isn't it? Oh gosh. Now I gotta check. Yeah, it is. There's the link in chat. We're raising money for Extra Life that benefits the Children's Miracle Networks. So come make donations for the kids. Donations can get, some donations might get you things. In fact, the wonderful Erin M. Evans, who does a lot of writing for Idle Champions, she has a new book coming out called Empire of Exiles. And there's a bundle where you can get the book and a bunch of free stuff for making a donation. But there's also stuff that's going to help us in the game. Like if you donate it like at a higher level, everyone in the party gets a magic item. Like, hey, woo, you found a cache of magic items. Here you go. Folks, they let us pick ahead of time what we're getting. The very first time someone donates at that level, my character gets a tan bag of tricks. Why would my character want a tan bag of tricks, folks? What could possibly, potentially be inside of a tan bag of tricks? Hashtag Jeremy Clawford in chat, folks. So come join us. It's going to be a fun time. Our DM is none other than Keith Amon from The Monsters Know What They're Doing. They've got a new book out, and they're basically demonstrating their new book about how to destroy parties as a DM. And we're the party. No, it's how to defend your lair. Yeah, so come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. But hey, back to the actual show. So we're going to talk about campaigns today. When you first start in Idle Champions, the only campaign available to you is going to be Grand Tour of the Sword Coast. It's the one we see here. There will be a lot less stuff going on. Like at first it'll just be, hey, the tutorial. Hey, the tutorial. Right? And then as you complete stuff, you're going to get these little dotted paths. This is standard for all of the campaigns. Follow the little dotted path to the next adventure node, and then you get a lot more adventures as you go along, right? So this is the basis of how campaigns work, and you get to kind of dip your toes in it. Now, as you complete a certain number of adventures in campaigns, more of these campaigns along the left side on the banner will start unlocking. Like, they'll literally be locked. You won't be able to go there, but then they'll start unlocking one by one. This is because they're letting you kind of know, hey, these other campaigns are maybe a little more difficult, so get some experience in before you step into them. And this is true. If we look at this campaign list on the left, Sword Coast starts off in the easiest possible place. Then its difficulty ramps way up over time, for reasons we'll discuss in a bit. Tomb of Annihilation, the next easiest campaign, then Waterdeep, then Baldur's Gate, etc., etc. You start getting into harder campaigns around Baldur's Gate. Things start to get very difficult very quickly, and you have higher goals for certain things. Not only area goals, but to unlock blessings, which we'll talk about. And these are all of the campaigns. This is what I refer to as the campaign banner. These are all of your campaigns in Idle Champions. Other things you can do in Idle Champions that are not technically campaigns, but maybe are. Time gates. You can open a time gate to go back to any event. Events will show up in the campaign banner at the top when an event is active. So technically they are like a mini campaign. And when dealing with the aforementioned Kent, who tracks things across campaigns, your highest progress in an event or a time gate, since time gates are going back in time to do just a little bit of an event, those will count for Kent. However, when we get down here to the bottom of the blue banner, this kind of bonus banner, Trials of Mount Tiamat does say, create a campaign, join a campaign. It's not a campaign. CNE has stated that Trials is not a campaign. It really should say create a trials. Create a trial, join a trial. This is a text issue, not an issue with this being a campaign, and it not counting for Kent. It just never should have been called a campaign. It should have been called a trial or a raid. This is a group. This is the only current group based content in the game. It is not a campaign that you earn favor in and turn into blessings and etc. etc. And I know events aren't either, but events are considered mini campaigns. They are, as far as I'm concerned, little pockets of campaigning that train you to do campaigns normally. Like they train you in how you're supposed to progress and how you're supposed to earn favor, and they're a lot easier than a regular campaign, so you can get through them quickly. But to be clear, Trials, despite the text here that needs to be changed, not a campaign. So we're going to talk about the 7, what we call permanent campaigns. These are all permanent. They're not going away. They will be here forever. Now, along with permanent campaigns, there's another descriptor we can use here. There's 2 more. One is continuous, and one is limited. I think those are the terms I'm going to use. Grand Tour of the Sword Coast, Grand Tour of the Sword Coast is a continuous campaign, which means they will be adding new content to Grand Tour, potentially forever. I mean, as long as the game is running, they're going to continue to add adventures. Those adventures this is why Grand Tour starts off kind of at a low level of difficulty and then ramps up to a high level of difficulty, because as they're adding more and more campaigns, they're also adding more and more adventures in the Grand Tour, and they are reflecting those same type of power levels required to get through them, especially when you get to the variants of some of the adventures, like the Patron versions. Anyway, so Grand Tour, a continuous or perpetual, whatever term you want to use to mean that it's always going to get content. There you go. Everything else, all of these others, because the Grand Tour is basically a long-term Dungeons & Dragons campaign, if you want to think about it in D&D terms. The overall arcing huge campaign, dipping in and out of other places. Whereas all of these other campaigns, these are based off of the campaign books that come out once a year from Wizards of the Coast. Tomb of Annihilation, Waterdeep. If you go back year by year, Light of Xerxes is this year's Spelljammer campaign. Wild Beyond the Witchlight was last year's Feywild type of thing, and so on and so forth. These come out once a year, and they have a limited amount of content. And then they're done. So far, the only campaign that we've finished is Tomb of Annihilation. Tomb of Annihilation started out with just a couple of adventure nodes here, and then we went to Chult. We hit up Port Nyanzaru, and then we traveled through the jungles, down through here. We did some things with a Sararak, and looped around, came back up, and ended up here with the Lost Love, which is the last adventure node, which completed the story, and most of the campaigns we have completed their storyline. But then what the developers do is they add variants over time, and once one of these other campaigns gets 3 variants in every adventure node, it's done. That's the most they're ever going to have. So Tomb of Annihilation is a completed campaign. Everything is there. All the content that's ever going to be in Tomb of Annihilation is in there. All the storyline adventures, all the variants. And in fact, once you finish Spirit of the Trickster Gods here, the 3rd variant, your reward is larger, more beneficial, potentially, reward than just some gems or something. It's actually like modron chests. And there's an achievement for finishing the tomb. So next up should be Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Unfortunately, I don't think. No, we still only have like. There's only 2 for okay. We're getting there. It's 3 down through here. So we're slowly creeping up on. Ooh, this is getting close. This is getting close. Oh my. Okay. So we need 1 more here. 1 more here. And 2 more here. So 4 variants. We're 4 variants away. I have to check all the nodes, but that should be right. We're only 4 variants away from completely finishing the content in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. That's pretty cool. And then what happens is now then they won't make any more adventures or variants, which means they'll be able to focus all of their time and energy on these 4 campaigns. Plus Grand Tour, adding stuff to Grand Tour, which is we just saw a patch this week to Grand Tour, which we'll talk about. So this is how these other campaigns are going to work. They will have who knows how many adventure nodes that lead you through things. Like here the Baldur's Gate has a couple out here, and then we jump to Avernus. We literally go to Hell and we traverse all of Hell. Here's the thing. This is how you know it's Hell. You start out here, and you go all over the place, and then you end up right where you started. That's how you know it's Hell. But yeah, we'll need a lot more to get through that, right? We're currently working our way. Like we've finished the storyline in Icewind Dale. It ends over here with the Fall of Ythryn. Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Still working on the story on. We're not done yet because we haven't come over here to Yon. We've been to hither. We've been to thither. We haven't been to Yon or the Palace of Heart's Desire. Feel like we got to visit those places, right? And Light of Xerxes just started. We've taken off in our ship and we are in the Astral Sea. So quite a long way to go. Quite a long way to go. So, like all permanent campaigns, but continuous or perpetual Grand Tour. Limited content, tomb and beyond. Everything underneath is going to be limited content because they're just going to tell us the storylines roughly from the books. They're not canon. You don't have to worry. There may be some spoilers, but it's not canon. You can play the actual campaigns any way you want. But the only permanent campaign we have is Grand Tour. Grand Tour is unique again in another way. One, it's going to be continuous content. We're always going to have content. But it is the first place where they have done this. And probably the only place we're ever going to see it. Because the limited storyline, on-rails kind of nature of these. I mean, Sword Coast was on rails for a long time. But now it's given us choices. Which is, that's D&D in a nutshell, right? Like getting somewhere and having choices. Well, once you get to Waterdeep now... instead of just being forced to come up to the Mists of Ravenloft and hopping into Barovia down here in the minimap, now you have a choice. You can either go north to Barovia, or you can go south all the way to Candlekeep. And as we've seen, Candlekeep now opens up a whole Vecna storyline. So out of Waterdeep now for newer players, you get a choice. Do you want to go face Strahd, or do you want to go face Vecna? Can I get a neither option? So this is kind of a new thing. It's almost like a mini campaign. You can choose like which direction you're going and to complete stuff. Now that doesn't lock you out of anything. You'll be able to go back and do the other. But it gives them more options of stories to tell in the Sword Coast, extending the map, going down here, doing all kinds of stuff. I'm hoping they do this a lot more in the future. Because boy howdy, would I like to see a whole Gauntlgrim storyline. Dwarves. Come on. Let's do it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So keep in mind, this is the only one of these little double arrows that exist in the game so far. If they add more, probably going to be to Sword Coast. And I look forward to seeing what other kind of stories they're going to tell with this. Maybe some high-level branch-offs, because this is a lower-level branch-off. Fair fairly lower level branch off. The higher level stuff, like we hit up into the unknown up here after you do go through Brover, you end up in the Underdark. We've done a lot of stuff in the Underdark, but so far we haven't come out of the Underdark yet, and that's a little scary. So it'll be interesting to see where they come out of the Underdark. I don't think I don't feel like they're just going to end. They might, and maybe they'll just branch off somewhere over here. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So these are just the general functioning, the general differences between the types of campaigns. Now remember, events and time gates are limited time things. They're little mini campaigns. They are going to function for Kent. Kent has a feature that you do deep pushes in campaigns, and that benefits you for one of his abilities. That functions for all of these campaigns that you see on the campaign banner, the red campaign banner. But it also functions as like whatever your best push out of any event or time gate is. It just has to be one. It just has to be one really good push. It's not in all of them because folks, there are over 100 champions in the game. And the vast majority of those came from events and are now either available in events or time gates. That'd be way too many deep runs to do. Oh god. Please no. Please no. So they just put it into one. So just keep that in mind. So when you're working on Kent, you just need to hit all of these, ignore trials, and just one good event or time gate push. Is there anything else I want to... general information about campaigns. Every campaign has its own favor. So up in the top right, you'll see I have a reasonable amount. It's almost a nice amount of gold of favor and thus gold find. But every single one's going to have its own, and you'll notice a little icon that's next to it. This is the favor that each campaign has its own god that it's referenced to. I think this is Torm. I forget the names. I think this is Torm. This is Kellenbor, and on and on. So every campaign you have to earn. When you start it, it starts out with 0 favor, and you have to go earn favor in. You'll see my numbers are getting smaller as I go on. That's just because I just haven't bothered. Because they're not, like this one's done, so it's in a decent number. But these down here, their stories aren't done, so I haven't bothered doing deep pushes in them yet. Like, not super deep pushes or worrying about favor. But that favor is going to get you bonuses. That favor is going to allow you to... Well, favor is going to function as a gold find boost. So it's going to allow you to get more gold on your next run. But you're also going to be able to spend it on blessings. So each campaign has its own set of blessings. And those blessings can vary from inexpensive to very expensive. So when you start off like Sword Coast, the least expensive set of blessings when you're starting off... Tomb of Annihilation just right after that. But once you start getting down, Baldur's Gate just suddenly jumps, and you've got to pay a lot to get blessings. This is why it's considered a harder campaign. You got to put more work in to get the same kind of level, like tier of blessings as you did in other campaigns. And you can get to a certain point where favor carries you through the first couple of campaigns. Just getting lots of favor is going to allow you to do just about everything and to max out your blessings. But once you get into Baldur's Gate and beyond, it takes a lot more than just favor to push your campaigns. You're going to have to get a lot more of what I refer to just personally as account power. What is account power? It is power that comes from... I mean, blessings comes from favor, that's fine. But account power comes from like getting all of your patron perks, as we see our patrons over here on the right. In our patron bar, each patron has a set of perks that as you flesh out by doing their variants, which are these variants, but with harder restriction, like an extra restriction from the patron and much higher area levels. That's going to get you power. You get those perks. You unlock your modron cores, folks, from doing Split the Party. Each modron core has a different kind of focus. So we start... Oh, I don't even have the first one out here. The Modest Core is your first one, and it is just a general all-purpose power core for pushing. Then the Strong Core, which specializes in melee attackers, a small subset of melee attackers. The third one is your fast core. It just makes you go real fast. It also has some buffs, so it's nice, but it makes you go real fast. Fourth one is the magic core, so it's going to be good for magic users, well, anyone whose primary source of damage is magic, and sometimes that's a couple melee people, and anyone whose stats fit their matching bill. And then the fifth one is the brand new Aerois core. This is literally just for the Heroes of Aerois. It has nodes that are literally only buff abilities from the Heroes of Aerois, so it's not really a general purpose core. It's a very specialized core, right? But leveling these up can get you a lot of power. How much power? If before you have, like, if you have no core in, and you push as far as you can, like say 600, 700, 800 areas, and then you add a fully epic modest core. So a modest core that is level 15, and that has full epic flow, so not supercharged. You'll add an extra 100 or more areas of progress. I used to see this a lot when I was testing out, like when I was leveling up my fast core originally. I had a full epic modest core, and my fast core was just automation only. It didn't really have any buffs, and when I would swap from the fast core to the modest core, my wall would literally move over 100 areas. So there's a lot of power for your account that can come from getting your cores up, and that's going to help you push further in these harder campaigns, and thus earn more favor, which gets you more blessings. Now we also have legendary items. Now these do attach themselves to champions, but because you get to put them wherever you want, it is almost another form of extra power. Now they are linked to what champion you're using, but legendary items comes from trials. That's going to help you push deeper. So as you start getting it past Waterdeep and into these others, to complete some of this content and actually be able to push deeper and get more favor, you're going to need power from lots of different places. It isn't just about favor anymore. Favor is just kind of the stick that you beat the first 3 campaigns with, and events in the first 3 campaigns. Favor's your big stick. After that, you need everything else. So campaign progress, if you're having trouble, if you're finding yourself stalling out in one of these campaigns and you're wondering why, and what you have to do about it, because getting more favor isn't helping you, you got to get power from other places to help you push your campaigns. Since we were talking about patrons, I want to point out each patron kind of has their own set of their own campaigns. It's not an actual campaign, but once we go through and we complete all of this content, including all of these, see all these variants are check marked, then we activate a patron. That patron has their own versions, and again, previously this was like 150, I think. Let me go back just to make sure. So wherever powered was I had to get to area 75 in the regular campaign, but for Mertz I have to get to 250. 250. That's a big jump, folks. That's a big jump. So this is a big difference. This is why it's harder to do patron stuff, but you get benefits from it, right? Each patron is going to go up in terms of their overall goal requirements. So again, 325 now for the same wherever powered. So 75, area 75 was the original goal. Patron Zariel is going to take that up by about 250, right? And on top of that, on top of whatever restriction there was before, Zariel has their own restrictions too, right? So this is the main source of content in the game. When you play through campaigns for the first time, that's kind of like your starter mode. You're getting through, you're doing the campaigns, you're knocking out all the variants, you're earning lots of gems and stuff. And folks, gem farming is not your primary source of gems when you're a newer player. Just completing content in the campaign is. You earn lots of gems just from that. So keep that in mind. But once you're done with that, once you've done all the content in the game, like the base content, your next stuff, like everything else, is going to be, all the time you're going to be spending is on patrons. So each patron is basically restarting every campaign from the beginning in terms of the variants. And since there's 4 patrons, that means there's the bulk of the content in the game is patron content. So learning how to do patron content and doing the campaign stuff with patrons is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. But not necessarily your focus right away. Your focus right away, push through the content in the campaigns. And my tip for you, this is what I put in my new player reference. When you start off any campaign, your goal is just to do these base adventures. These are the storyline adventures that have the top level stuff. Now, there may be places along the way where it asks you, well, if you want to continue, you have to do some variants before you can move on. They did this early on in Sword Coast, and I think they might have done it in Tomb. They started to get away from that later, which is good. I wish they'd go back and remove those restrictions, actually, from the others. But basically, just start doing the base content. Ignore the variants. Ignore the variants. Why do I say that? Because variants are this content with a higher area goal for completion and restrictions that when you're a new player you may not fully understand. For instance, the very first variant in the game I think is really kind of it's a trap, folks. It even says it here. It tells you it's a trap. Are you chicken? Folks, it's daring you. Whenever somebody dares you to do something, you know it's a trap. You know it's a trap. If you come into this as a brand new player, if you just finished Cursed Farmer and Are You Chicken is available, and you hop in here, suddenly, if you see all these red X's, you go from having 9 champions in your formation that may have barely got you through Cursed Farmer to only having 5 available. That's a big deal. That's a lot of lost power. How do you overcome that? Favor early on. So you want to ignore, and you're not going to have much. So early on, you want to just ignore variants. You want to just do the adventures. And you only want to come back to do variants when they show in like the early Sword Coast and early Tomb. When they show is green. This means difficulty easy. This means you have favor because these ratings, these difficulty ratings come straight from your favor total. They don't measure anything else. They don't measure anything else. So you only want to do these if they show green. Now, like I said, I think when you get around to Terror in the Dark, somewhere around here says, well, you can't progress unless you do some variants. Fine. Then you need to come back here and you need to actually look at these restrictions and read them and look at this formation and process what it's doing to you. If you're losing slots, if you're losing champions, don't do it right away. There are other easier variants. Like this one, Mad Cow Disease. They spawn randomly. Every few seconds they spit at a random hero, reducing their attack speed. Well, that's not bad. This is actually way easier than Are You Chicken because you get all 9 champions and you just lose some attack speed for a little bit. Well, that's fine. Again, as long as you farm up some favor before you do them and it shows as green, you can do it. So there are some easier ones, but like Friendly Imps, you see X's, no, stay away. Red X's, get out of there. You're losing champions. And early on, your champions are not strong. You don't have a lot of gear yet. You don't have a lot of different champion options that might be needed for a messed up formation. Just stay away from these early on. Come back to them later. You're not missing anything. So do some of these others that as you read them. A lot of them aren't that bad. But Are You Chicken? Anything with a red X when you're brand new, stay away from. So do whatever you need to do some of these to get by and move on, but then go back to ignoring them because why not? Frankly, why not? You don't need to do them right away. You don't need to do them right away. It is better to move on and do the storyline. My general recommendation in Sword Coast is to start off and just do the storyline down here to Underdeep Cartography. Get enough favor for Overdue Rendezvous to show as easy. And then do it. I know there's a red X here, but there's this fun boy right here. This is the champion in the game. This is Dritz Do'Urden. You might have heard of him. You may not have. He's kind of a big deal in D&D lore. And you unlock him by doing this variant. This is what has been dubbed in the past an evergreen champion. They are always available for you to unlock in some way. And specifically, this is a campaign evergreen. So Drizzt Do'Urden is a Sword Coast campaign evergreen champion. So you can just do your adventures down to here, unlock Drizzt. I generally recommend getting a little bit of favor for an extra blessing. You can find that recommendation in my guide. And then I bounce. And then I tell people just get out of Sword Coast. Like, if you've gone down here and you've gotten Drizzt, and you've got that blessing, you can move on, right? You don't have to go on and do the entire Sword Coast campaign before moving to another one. You just want to get some experience in doing stuff. You want to earn some gems and buy some chests and a familiar or two. And then hop over. Tomb of Annihilation is a great first place to finish a campaign. Because remember, Sword Coast just kind of goes on forever and it gets real difficult. So you don't necessarily want to push super far there and complete it. You want to just get some stuff and bounce. Come over here to the Sword Coast. Sword Coast has it is an easier campaign in terms of its overall balancing. But also, its blessings kind of snowball themselves. Right away in Tier 1, you get a lot of things that are going to help you progress in that campaign. And then it just gets better as you go along. So you can push through here. And a bigger deal is you also have not one, but two evergreens available. If you get down here to Tomb of the Nine Gods, Azaka's Possession Part 1 and 2, Azaka Stormfang is a much talked about champion in Idle Champions. She's an evergreen out of the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. She's what we call your gold farmer. She is the primary #1 gold farmer, so much so that they gave her a farm skin. So she's got her overalls and stuff. And so you got Farmer Azaka. Unlocking her is a big deal. And super helpful to your overall progress in the game going forward. You also unlock Dragonbait over here at the end in Asoriel's Resolve out of this campaign. So these are kind of what I refer to as milestones for progress and moving forward. But this is kind of what you want to do in a lot of campaigns early on, is you want to progress through just the storyline adventures. You just do all of the storyline first. Make sure you've got the favor, and then come back and do whatever requirements you need to get these evergreens, to get these evergreen champions. But then you don't necessarily need to go do all of the variants. This Tomb of Annihilation doesn't make you do all of them. You just need to finish the storyline, grab both of the evergreens, and then head to Waterdeep, right? And the same thing then applies here, is you do all the main storyline stuff first. Ignore the variants unless it makes you do some. And then your goal here is to get all the way down here and unlock the Gargoyle Alcoria Stone Marrow. Stone Mantle? Alcoria. I can't remember her last name off the top of my head. So this is kind of the goal that you do as long as a campaign. Most campaigns now have evergreens in them, but not all. You work towards your first goal in the campaign is come in, do the storyline, and then pick up the evergreen champion from it. At least through Waterdeep. These are your goals. The Gargoyle requires a lot of completed variants. So you will have to go do more variants, but that's fine, because around this time you will have unlocked 1 or 2 patrons. And completing variants, you have to complete the base variants to then have the patron versions available. And you'll want to do some of those for influence anyway, so that you can get stuff out of their shop. Yeah. Once you get to Baldur's Gate, got a bit of some spoilers coming, folks. You do this campaign, completing everything all the way to Elturel's Last Stand. Not just getting here to Elturel Has Fallen, but to get to Elturel's Last Stand, which is the true final adventure. This is, again, just the storyline version, just completing the base storyline. completing Elturel's Last Stand does two big things for you in this game. And it's why you kind of want to just move quickly through Sword Coast to Dritz, then bounce to Tomb of Annihilation, grab the evergreens, bounce here, grab the evergreen, bounce here. You don't necessarily want to spend tons of time there. You just want to pick up potential power along the way. And you'll also be getting lots of gems and buying lots of chests. You'll be upgrading global blessings, because global blessings carry with you from campaign to campaign. And getting a modron core and leveling it up, so that when you get here, you'll have the power to finish Elturel's Last Stand, because this is a very difficult boss fight. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Other people could spoil that. Please not in chat, please. But yeah, really cool boss fight. The only one of its kind so far that's like this. And when you beat this, you unlock two huge things for your progress. One is another patron. This is where you get, spoiler, this is where you get Patron Zariel. This is how you unlock Patron Zariel, is completing Elturel's Last Stand. But two, you unlock the Trials of Mount Tiamat. This is how you get this volcano to show up. It is not there. It does not appear. It is not, the trials and the forge are non-existent on your account until you complete Elturel's Last Stand in the Baldur's Gate campaign. So these are two big things. One, another patron, a lot more progress. Again, we've got perks that they offer, but they also have a shop. Every patron has a shop, and in that shop you can buy time gate pieces and modron component chests. These are the two most important things to get from patrons every week. But Trials allows you to unlock the aforementioned legendary items for champions. Legendary items basically add a bonus effect, an extra effect to an epic item. And those effects can become very powerful by leveling them up. And the only way to get them and level them up is to participate in Trials. Trials are a roughly weekly thing. They kind of have a timer, so you have to complete it. And technically you have 7 days to complete it, but if you complete it in 6, you could start a new one right away. I need to start mine. And they have a bunch of different difficulties. There's 10 different tiers of difficulty, starting with normal, going all the way up to Exalted Legend. I have not done the top 2 tier. I've unlocked this one. I haven't done this one yet, so I haven't gotten here yet. Trials just went through a bit of a revamp. I think everybody's still kind of settling in and figuring out what they think about this. But just know that once you unlock Trials, getting here and getting a Trials unlocked is a big deal, because if you can finish Elturel's Last Stand, you can come in and do a normal trial. Totally fine. That's not a problem. You have the power to do it. So once you unlock Trials, there's no reason for you not to do a trial every week. You should. You should, because it's time-based, and it's the only way you can get these scales, which are what you create legendary items with. You want to do it every week. Even if all you're doing is normal over and over and over again, you need to be doing a trial every week. So keep that in mind, that's a big unlock. These are 2 big unlocks just from completing Baldur's Gate. There aren't currently any other major unlocks linked to completing campaign content other than your evergreen champions. So getting through Baldur's Gate is a big deal for that alone. But there are other bonuses to completing Baldur's Gate. There are multiple variants here. Nope, that wasn't the one I wanted. This one, right? Like Raga Draga's crew. Normally, like we've talked about with variants and campaigns, the variants added a more difficulty on top of what was already something that was difficult. But some of them don't. Sometimes the restriction isn't a super difficult restriction, and isn't something that makes it very hard to do. So like in Raga Draga's crew, it just says various lycanthropes appear to hassle the champs with each wave. They don't count towards progress, nor do they drop gold. And there's more information in there, but it's basically not that big of a restriction, which means when you go to do the patron version of it, it's easy to do. It's easy. It's not something like this, like good champions can't be used. Neutral champions deal no damage. This is a horrible restriction when you start then adding on top of that the restrictions from patrons, right? This isn't. And it's got a high base area goal, and as we saw, it goes up hundreds of levels with this, and the further you go, the more influence and currency you get. So once you get to Baldur's Gate, you can do like 3 or 4 variants and get in for each patron and get an amazing amount of influence and currency, enough potentially to take you through all the way through fully like tier 5 of the perks for most, if not all, of the patrons, which is a huge jump in power. So finishing the storyline of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, and then knocking out some of these variants, like the base variants, and then doing them for each of the patrons, suddenly you go from, oh wow, this is difficult, to, wow, I can go back and now breeze through the variants in the majority of the other content, get a lot of variants done here, and then just go start rocking through Icewind Dale, right? So Baldur's Gate as a campaign is a huge power swing for you as a player, and really kind of now at this point in time, currently this changes, signals to me the big switch from early game into mid game. Because at this point you've then suddenly turned on and activated the potential for all of this power, and you can now spend a lot more time doing patron stuff because you have the power to do it. You can push deeper in all of the campaigns and get lots more favor. You can start earning legendary items. And that's a lot more power and a lot more pushing power and thus favor and thus more blessings for the harder campaigns and completing harder variants. So you basically trigger at the end of Baldur's Gate, you trigger a big switch in power, and at this point the whole game kind of opens up to you in a way that it didn't before. You'll be able to knock out, as you start grabbing all of these things, you'll be able to complete events quicker, push deeper, and finish them faster, because they're not going to be as difficult for you. The same when you run time gates, et cetera, right? So just know, as you're working through, again, I recommend grabbing your evergreens through here, do base storylines, grab evergreens, whatever you have to do to get that. Once you get here, push all the way through the base storyline, you'll unlock Trials and Zariel, then stop, do some variants finally, and then do their patron versions, profit hugely, and then move on and start moving forward with the rest of the stuff. I do want to point out, we've talked about, so Mert isn't campaign limited as to unlocking him. You just need some item levels and some things for Mert. He's very campaign agnostic. He doesn't care. Vajra requires you to do some stuff in Waterdeep to unlock, so you won't be able to get Vajra until you've done some stuff in Waterdeep, which is, again, you should unlock Mert at some point, some point during Tomb of Annihilation at the latest, generally speaking. Vajra requires you to do some stuff in Waterdeep before you can unlock her. Strahd requires you to bounce back into here, do the Mists of Ravenloft, hop into Barovia, do the Barovian storyline all the way through Towering Expectations. This is where Towering Expectations is. And beat Towering Expectations, which will then push you back out to the Sword Coast and unlock this adventure node for Hularis and Liquid. That then allows you enables you to unlock Strahd. There are some other requirements, but that's the campaign limited requirement. Vajra has a campaign requirement, Strahd has a campaign requirement, Zariel has a campaign requirement. So if you've been wondering where those are, that's it. Vajra, just complete certain number of adventures in Waterdeep. Strahd, complete Towering Expectations in Barovia on the Sword Coast. Zariel, complete the final adventure in Baldur's Gate. Icewind Dale currently doesn't have any of those other requirements. There's no patron for Icewind Dale. I kind of refer to Mert and Vajra are kind of the Waterdeep patrons, because they both arrived with the Waterdeep Dragon Heist content update. That's when we got patrons. So and then they went back and gave us a Sword Coast patron in Strahd. We don't have a tomb patron. You could almost say Vajra doubles as a tomb patron because she was the patron for Force Grey when they went to Tomb of Annihilation. But, yeah, doesn't count. She's really linked to Waterdeep, I think. So, we don't have a tomb patron, but Zariel is the Baldur's Gate patron. We don't have any patrons for any of these. They've kind of put a pause on adding patrons to the game, which is a good thing because patron challenges in their current situation are a lot of work. The recent update on at Steam, at least, to offline progress is one of the things that's going to help with that. That rollout should start happening across all platforms soon, but offline progress now way better than it ever was. Offline progress 2.0 or background progress 2.0, however you want to refer to it. It functions way better than it ever did before. There's, it's brand new. There's still some glitches, but it way better situation than what everybody was dealing with before. And the potential to start fixing all of these things, like adding in more champion abilities like speed effects and stuff, and stacking and adding all the patron triggers and all that kind of stuff. This is a system they rebuilt from the ground up to be able to handle all of that stuff way easier, and to fix problems way easier. And I can tell you from being in the beta, yeah, they were able to iterate changes and fixes at a very quick pace. So that's going to actually help, hopefully, one of the things that will help with patron stuff. And I know they have mentioned on Dev Insights recently that patrons should see some adjustments to challenges in the future, maybe first quarter of next year, that make it easier. And maybe after those two things happen, we may see more patrons get added to the game. Which is good. It's a good thing because that's more power. Because remember, patrons have perks, and they also have lots of stuff in the shop that's nice to buy. So more patrons is good, as long as you can as long as challenges get a bit of a revamp to make things more enjoyable for people. So Icewind Dale, your main thing here is just working through the storyline. The evergreen champion here is all the way at the end. Down here, Fall of Yithrin. Lesson in classes is your evergreen unlock. Completion area. This is how you know we've moved into the hard places. I didn't. Hold on. I'm bad, folks. There is an evergreen in Baldur's Gate. She's down here. Rhea Reborn. Area 625. This is how you really know. This is where we first go. Oh, we're in the hard places. Area 625. It's a challenging. This is one of the better evergreen variants, in my opinion, because it really kind of spins your brain into a different place when it comes to building a formation. That's the key I'm going to give you there. This is not your usual formation building to complete it. So yeah, we start getting into more difficult spaces for these. Lesson in classes is considered incredibly challenging. I have a video guide for this up in the CNA Games YouTube channel now, so check out Gaarawarr's Guide to a Lesson in Classes. I kind of explain the thought process to get through this, because there isn't just one formation to rule them all. There just isn't. And you'll understand when you read this giant block of text and watch that guide. But it isn't as difficult as people make it out to be. You can do it, folks. You can do it. It does take a lot of power. It does take a lot of account power, because your favor and your champions at this point, they're only going to get you so far. You need those patron perks. You need that modron core power. You might need some legendaries, right? Like, it's going to take more from this point on to get to these higher levels and to complete them. And remember, this is the base variant 725. If we lock in Zariel, 900. So things start getting real difficult once you start getting through here in terms of the area goals and completion goals. But this means if you can beat it, you're getting a lot of influence and currency, because those rewards for patrons are based off the area goal. So keep in mind, it is a good thing to start stocking up that power because it pays off in dividends everywhere along the way. One interesting effect in this campaign, and there may be some. We now have to track weather in campaigns, folks, because Virgil's coming on this coming Wednesday, and Virgil's a storm sorcerer. And he has bonuses based off when weather changes. Well, there are places, I think fog counts as a weather change, and there's been fog in some of these other places. But there is snow. There is snow in Icewind Dale, so that's something you need to keep in mind for weather changes. So Virgil may come in. Virgil's going to be good in places where there's weather changes, because you get bonuses for that. While Beyond the Witchlight, we do have... I want to say it's the first evergreen. I'm just going to say that. I don't know that for sure. There may only be one here, but I don't think so, because we unlocked the first evergreen. You come in 4 adventure nodes, and we get our first evergreen here with Blushi and Bully for You. This makes me feel very Azaka. This makes me feel Azaka. Gar, how do you feel today? I feel Azaka. This makes me feel very Azaka, because Azaka showed up about halfway through the campaign, and then we got Dragonbait at the end, so I feel like they're giving us a Blushi about halfway through, and then we're going to get someone else at the end, and that has me excited, because I like the concept of 2 evergreens per campaign. That's what I want. That's what I want. Bully for You is another somewhat challenging event variant. I do have a guide for this on the CD Games YouTube channel. And in that guide, I literally tell you I tell you all the secrets to Bully for You. So, I always suggest trying it out first, just because this game is a puzzle game. It just is, folks. And for me, the fun of that is solving the puzzle myself. So it made me very happy to solve the puzzle, and I share that secret with you. But you know, if you want to solve the puzzle and get that endorphin rush, you go do that. You don't have to. You can save the guide for later in case you have problems. But yeah, we're getting some fun mechanics for evergreens. But this is currently the final evergreen champion that we have that's campaign unlockable. Nothing. I mean, we're only 2 nodes into Light of the Xerxes here. Yeah, 2 nodes into Light of Xerxes yet. So we don't know. We don't even know when. Are they going to do it like halfway through? I don't know. Are they going to wait to the end like with Ikoria? I don't know. So we don't know when we're going to get a Spelljammer evergreen champion yet. But we do know that currently Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Light of Xerxes, and Grand Tour all still actively getting new adventures and new variants. Okay, now as I noted, Waterdeep should be getting its finale soon. I would hope, but we just got new content down here. Return to the Tomb. They sent us back to Face of Sararak again. Spoiler alert. And Heatwave and the variants. I didn't do this one yet. So they've given us more of this Sword Coast content, but they should dip back into more content through here soon. They might jump right back into Light of Xerxes to flesh some more of that out. I don't know. But lately when they do like a big pass on variants, so content wise, this game drops new content, so new storyline adventures or new variants every 3 weeks. Events happen every 3 weeks. New content drop every 3 weeks. They kind of overlap like this. So an event starts on a Wednesday. The next Wednesday, nothing happens. Event's still active. No content drop, no nothing. There might be patches and stuff, but we call that kind of a lull week because you're just still doing the event and there's no new content. But then the next Monday, event ends, and then Wednesday, content patch drops. Right? So you had an event on Wednesday, nothing. Content drop 2 weeks after that. Then Timegate. Then the next Wednesday, new event starts. This is the normal content cycle for Idle Champions. I know they messed that cycle up recently. There was reasons. It was the anniversary. They do shenaniganry around the anniversary. But that is how this is the cycle of this is the 3-week cycle of Idle Champions. Event on a Wednesday. Nothing on the next Wednesday. Wednesday after that, content drop. And that content drop will either be new adventures or new variants. If they give you adventures, they give you usually 2 adventures and a variant for each of them. If they drop just variants, that's usually 2 variants for every campaign that still gets variants. So the next time they just so we're probably 2 variant drops from finishing Waterdeep Dragon Heist because it still needs 4 variants. So we're probably 2 just pure variant drops away from that. But if they do that, it'll be 2 variants for Grand Tour, Waterdeep, Descent, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, etc. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would drop 12 variants on us. That's a lot. So they don't do those as often because it's easier to drop. It's easier to create 2 adventures, 2 new adventures and 2 variants than 12 variants potentially. So that's how the content drop works. New campaigns again arrive once a year. We just had Light of Xerxes show up in September. That's when campaigns drop because that's when the D&D books drop. So every September, expect a new campaign. We also know, if you pay attention to the Wizards of Coast campaign book release schedule, they tell this to us in advance. We also know about a year in advance what the next campaign's going to be. So they kind of already told us. They told us a year ago that, hey, Spelljammer is going to be the big book at the end of the year. And guess what? Spelljammer is our campaign. They do this every year. They already told us. Wizards of the Coast already announced what their book is for next year. The big book. Planescape. So if you thought things were getting weird going to space, Planescape's going to be the next big campaign book, which means we're going to have a Planescape campaign in the game, as long as things follow the current rules for content release. All the other books, potentially any other books that come out during a year, can potentially show up in Sword Coast. That's why we have Barovia. It's the Curse of Strahd adventures. That's why we have these adventures. There's stuff with the Sunless Citadel. And this adventure is Into the Unknown. Is this whole thing was a book of some kind. I don't remember the names, but there are people who do. So they try to do other adventure books in the Sword Coast campaigns. That's what they're kind of giving us with this content. So folks, that's the general overview of campaigns and how they function, what they are, where they are, why they are. Most importantly, how are campaigns? How are campaigns? You doing good? Okay, good to know. No one ever asks, how are campaigns? Folks, we're going to take a short break. I do see lots of questions already. I see a little over a dozen questions that Martin has grabbed. Thank you, Martin, and thank you to all of you for asking them. So we will dive into those when I come back from the break. Our musical interlude at the break, I Love Waterdeep. It's the only bardic inspiration song that we really have that's specifically about one of our campaigns. Specifically, we do. There's a Spelljammer one, but. Waterdeep, folks. Here comes I Love Waterdeep. Be right back.
Waterdeep, the city that never sleeps. Waterdeep, the crown of the north. Waterdeep, seek the treasure beneath. Waterdeep, don't find what you were. As I was wandering around the city of splendor, I saw the yawning portal, gate to adventure. But don't go down too far, you may meet your fate as you stumble through Lasting's gates. Standing in the shade, the night statue cast. I look out to see 1,000 swaying masts, glancing up I see the griffins flying by. You know the city's saved by land, sea, and sky. Water deep, city that never sleeps. Water deep, crown of the north. Water deep, see the treasure beneath. Water deep, found what you were. The beauty of my home, seen in every war. Just walk these ancient streets and see what we've adorned. But this antique city hides beneath centuries of history buried deep. There's a port of skulls westwards towards the sea, a lawless outpost run by thugs and thieves. Underneath it all, the man-made plans and schemes in a labyrinth of death and opportunity. Oh, water deep, sea that never sleeps. Water deep, crown of the north. Water deep, see the treasure beneath. Water deep, and found what you were. Lord unseen will protect you. Lords unknown will provide. Lords uncrowned watch over you. But the master lords will never die. Yeah, water deep, city that never sleeps. Water deep, crown of the north. Water deep, see the treasure beneath. Water deep, found what you were.
Hey, we're back. That's a good song. I like that song. I say that about every Bardic Inspiration song. I just like them all. All right, I'm going to hit up these questions that Martin was so kind as to put into the document over here. If you have any other questions, folks, fire away. I currently jumped into Heatwave. Wow, okay. So we're returned to Avernus. Gotcha. That's why it's a Heatwave. If we're doing that in the background, we'll hop somewhere else if we need to. I don't care if I finish this right now. Let's see what we have about, if we have anything about campaigns. Lightspeed. Why doesn't favor accumulate the same across all campaigns? I'm not. I think if I want it more descriptive, I'm going to make some assumptions here about your question because I need more information. Every campaign has its own favor because every campaign is basically represented by its own god, and it has its own set of blessings. So if you just earned one amount of favor for everything, this wouldn't work. This wouldn't work because you need to spend some of that favor to get the blessings, and if they just used one favor, you'd be able to buy all the blessings. Like, they'd have to do a whole different system for the blessings, right? They wanted to link, favor to blessings and give you bonuses. That would make it more difficult. Now, each campaign earns favor at potentially, or you earn gold potentially differently from each campaign, in the sense that there might be different gold modifiers from killing enemies. Again, that's a rating as to the difficulty of the campaign. The harder the campaign is, the harder it's going to be to earn gold. That's part of the difficulty rating that they assign to campaigns. So as you progress, things get harder. But one of the things that the separation of favor allows you to do is it allows you to also kind of delineate that, yes, this is a difficult campaign, but also require you to have more power to complete things like blessings. So if we see, I only had to spend E24 total. This is the current cap for Sword Coast, Torm's Favor. 1.1 E24 is your total spend to max out all your blessings, right? We're going to look at the total spends here. We can see that it's a little more difficult. Like they ramped it up a little more. You had to put a little more in Tomb of Annihilation, 1.41 E27, right? Waterdeep, a little more, 8.02 E27 to max them all out, right? This is tier 5. I think it's tier 5 for all the early stuff is tier 5 now. So yeah, this is, you can see it's just ticking up a little harder, and then there's a huge jump. Right? These signify kind of the easier campaigns, and easier to get, easier to push in, easier to get max blessings in. Again, Torm is a little unusual because it goes places. It goes places, folks. Sword Coast goes places. But Tomb and Waterdeep you can top off pretty quickly. But Baldur's Gate, again, it is kind of a trigger for a change in the game. It is your ascent into the mid game as a player, because suddenly you are being asked to achieve so much more, but you're also being given the tools for that, right? So for all 5 tiers, it's going to take 2.65 E42, and that's just not doable based on the current champion soft cap that you can get with favor. So you have to get power from all those other places we were talking about before. Icewind Dale continues, 929 E48. This again, tier 5. That's how far they've got full tier 5 in Icewind Dale. Corellon's Favor, however, we do not have all 5 tiers of the blessings for Wild Beyond the Witchlight yet. They release a new tier as they release new adventures. Like, as they meet certain thresholds for adventures, you get a new tier of blessings. So we still have 2 more tiers of blessings to go, which tells us we still have quite a few more adventures left to go in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Like I said, they've only touched 2 of the 3.5 places on the map. So we're, this is going to come out. Even right now, though, we're into the E32s. This is most likely going to end up, I would guess, in the E50s. Icewind Dale was the E48. We saw, an E06 jump. This is probably going to end up in the E50s. I would say mid E50s. We only have 1 tier in the Spelljammer campaign because it's brand new. So it started off with 1 tier. It's already E17 though, and I mean that's almost everything you need for Torm, right? So it's gonna jump up. It may be high E50s, or it may even break into the low E60s. So again, they're scaling this with the power that you need. They want to make sure that you're not just steamrolling everything, because then what's the point? So each one has its own kind of scaling in terms of the blessings, and that's kind of what you're really pushing for to carry power through campaigns. Yeah. So it's a gameplay decision. It's a design decision that's part of the point of the game. Jason and Bryant, when do trials become available? We talked about that. It's once you complete the storyline adventure in Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus. Probably asked that before I got there, but that's fine. That's fine. This is kind of related with events, time gate, season, and my newly unlocked Mert Patron. I have no time to unlock Azaka. Any advice? Yeah, just go unlock Azaka. We're not in an event right now. The season is going on, but you can make progress for that while you're doing Azaka stuff. And your time gate, I mean, you did your time gate. You should have done your time gate already. Are you still doing your time gate? Finish your time gate, then go unlock Azaka. There's no reason. Like, so I know events are time limited, but events aren't happening all the time. Once you're done with an event, or you're out of tokens, hop back into regular campaign stuff and work towards these progress goals. Seasons are a long time. Seasons are 10 weeks. So, you don't have to grind through this stuff. These seasonal quests, it's not like you have to get this done in a week. These will sit here until you complete them. Same with the milestone quests. The only things that you have to worry about on a regular basis are the dailies. And these could be done on your way to Azaka. These could be done on your way to Azaka. Not all of them. I mean, if it's something like this, or if it says it's a time gate. If it's a time gate, I just re-roll those. But yeah. So just remember, these seasonal quests, milestone quests are long-term. Seasonal quests are also long-term. They show up every week. You get a new batch of them, but they load into a queue. So if you don't finish them right away, you can just queue them up, and as you finish them, new ones will load in. You only run out if you complete them all, like I did, almost. Not worried. I'm in no rush. I'm not hurried. I'm not worried about it at all. It'll get done. So you have to balance with this game. You really have to. And Mert, the thing with a patron, when you unlock a patron, you want enough influence. You need to stop and get enough influence to buy your time gate piece every week. If you're far enough into the game, you also want to unlock. You would want to try to get some big level stuff, high level variants done to get your modron component chest. But if you haven't unlocked Azaka yet, you can probably just ignore that for now. Just focus on getting the influence to get and the currency every week to get your time gate piece. But Azaka should be your main focus. Kermie, really, can you increase the influence earned in a variant by pushing further? No. It's based on the area goal. It's based on the area goal for the variant. So the deeper, the higher the level stuff that you have to do, like stuff that's 500, 600, 700, 800 as the area goal, the more influence and currency you're going to earn for completing it. That's why you don't necessarily want to waste your time early on when you first unlock patrons doing like all the sword, like the early Sword Coast variants or the early Tomb variants. They all have very low goals. They're going to earn you very little in terms of influence. So you do a few of those so that you can get that time gate piece unlocked. Maybe if you want to also unlock early on, unlock the modron component chest. That is a good goal, but it's harder to do if you haven't gotten to Baldur's Gate yet. But once you get to Baldur's Gate, suddenly you can start rocking tons and tons of influence and currency. Speaking of, Zellos, which are the variants you suggest in Baldur's Gate for patrons? What's it over there? So the one I always forget what they all are, but Ragadragus Crew is one of them. Absolutely. Ragadragus Crew, that's not really a restriction. If you could beat the base variant, then as long as you have the power to get to the higher level completed area for patrons, it isn't really a restriction. I kind of include Madcap Adventures. I don't think this is a super difficult variant, so I count this one as one of the ones to do. Let me find the others. Relentless Peril is one. Because with this one, the restriction is just, hey, there's some ghouls that also attack in each area. They have more health than normal, and when you kill them, they'd get back up again. That's not a super difficult restriction. So I consider Relentless Peril another one to do. Madness of Yenogu is one that is a little harder, but not that bad. Enemies deal 200% additional damage and move 200% faster. If you could do the base variant of this one super easy, then you can probably do the patron version. But maybe not. God, Zapper Overload. Not Zapper Overload. I mean, that's probably... those are the main ones, I think. There's somebody out there that probably has a list. Yeah, I mean those Those are probably it. They're gonna earn you a lot of influence. So, but the key is you do one of those, like Raggadragga's crew, and then you spend, if you're gonna focus on, like, say you're doing Mert, you do Mert's Raggadragga's crew, and then you spend all of that influence trying to efficiently target perks on the local side. So you max out this for tier 1, and then you buy enough global to get you down to tier 2. You max out tier 2 without putting more into here. And then there's a requirement for how many you get here. And then here, let me demonstrate. So you do it like this, and then I only need 5 more to get to tier 2, and then you do it like this. Now I need 10 more. Well, I look at what's cheap here, and I kind of buy back and forth. I already know that I'm going to max this out, but you would buy back and forth, and then you would max here. But now I need 19 more, and then, like, you look at the costs, and you bounce between the costs. Oops. Like this. Because you might have when you have limited currency you want to spend. When you're maxing local, it means I'm going to go do Mert variants, and I'm putting my power there. So I'm just gonna dump this, right? So you don't necessarily when you spend efficiently like this, you don't necessarily put as much into this right hand side, the global side, because global bonuses are smaller than local bonuses. And if what I'm doing is working on Mert, I want to max my locals without necessarily spending influence on this other side over here, right? So now I need 24. There's going to be like a back and forth here. I'm just going to alternate until we get there. That should be pretty accurate. Yeah, that worked. Okay, now I haven't finished this. But I'm going to max out this, right? Like, this is what you do if you're just, as you do something like this, as you get more influence and you're actively working on Mert. Now, if I decide, well, okay, I've done what I can do with Mert. I grabbed all the stuff out of Baldur's Gate. It would have taken me down almost to max. I think all the stuff with Baldur's Gate maxes you tier 5 for Mert and potentially starts you into tier 6. I can't remember. I'm going to go work on Vajra now. Well, then you come up here and you hit reset again. Because this isn't favor, folks. This is influence. They call them different things for a reason, and it's important that we separate the names because you don't get punished for resetting perks. You can do as much as you want. You only get punished for resetting favor. So, if I'm going to go do Vajra stuff, then I do it the opposite way. I focus on the right side because I want to carry as much global power with me into Vajra. I don't care about the local anymore. And I would do this type of spending all the way, all as far down as I can. As far down as I can. Is this? Yeah, that's just basically all of it. Yeah. Right? I would spend like this. So depending on what you're working on, you may want to reset your perks, especially if you have limited influence. Oh, I see. I almost did it. Especially if you have limited influence, you want to reset your perks for whatever you're focusing on. If you're working on Vajra, you want to focus local. Don't worry about the globals. Try to just maximize the locals and then put everybody else into global. Because that's going to get you the most power. And especially after you finish Baldur's Gate, you'll be able to have a lot of power in all the patrons that you have available. And you want to make sure you're focusing it. So if you just want to knock out Mert stuff in Baldur's Gate, once you get those first 2 or 3 done, it makes all the others easier. So start with Raggadragga's crew. Get yourself a bunch of local power for whatever patron you're doing. And then work on whatever you think the next harder one is. That's why I think some of those, even though they might be a little difficult looking, they're not that bad, because if you do them in order of easiest to difficult, just with those 4, you end up with a lot of power and you blow right through it. But then you can go out and do some of those others that are high levels that aren't super bad restrictions, but a little rough, kind of like that 200% damage and 200% speed one, right? But you should be able to blow right through those. Get a lot more perks, And then you can go do a regular deep run in that adventure with all of those new perks, and potentially get a lot more favor, pick up some more blessings. That's going to help you with the patron stuff. It's just a continual snowball as you're adding more and more and more power, right? So keep that in mind. You can really direct your power with patrons in campaigns as you're doing specific variants. Oh, Kalana, as you know, not a question, just more like they want more Ravenloft Domains of Dread stuff. Yeah, I mean that would be neat, but I don't know. They've already kind of dipped their toe in that. I don't know when they're going to get a chance to dip their toe in again. There's a lot of potential content they could do in Sword Coast, and I think they're trying to give people a wide variety instead of just going all in on one place. Okay, I think that's all the specific stuff on campaigns. So I'm going to hop into general questions, folks. If you have just general questions, throw them in. Back to the top. Lesh, is there a cap on click damage? Is there a limit on how high it can get? Not currently. No. That is why some people do click debuff strategies for pushing deep, because if they have a lot of favor. Because champions hit a soft cap. Right here, it's a circle with a line through it, but click damage never does. It is a linear scale. It just keeps going up. Yeah. I don't recommend that, but because it just kills your platform, whatever it just slows everything down and can crash your game, but you do you. Gelatinix Rubik's Cube. Need advice. I have Keelik and Nova, and enough to buy one more season hero who will help me get the most quests done. Oh, I don't even know. I did not keep track of all the different quests. Wow. You're just kind of going to have to look at... I know we get Lucius as a... I get Lucius as a daily, but some of them pop into the dailies. It's hard to say. Yeah, I did not track what all of the different quests were for Season 1. Maybe the Discord can help with that. At this point, I would almost... Well, what's the current stuff? Get Ayla to stun a bunch of people. Yeah, I mean, look at what your backed up seasonal quests are and see if there's multiple for one of the champions. So I know I see Ayla. I know I see Ayla a lot. You already have Keelik. I see Keelik a lot. I see Lucius a lot. I know Sentry has one, but man, it's rough because it's RNG on her speed mechanic. Yeah, I would look at what your season quests are that are backed up, and see and pick one that's going to knock that out for you, probably. Because I don't see anything. There's none of the milestones that require anybody except for Keelik. Yeah. Just keep in mind, I mean, Sentry's a speed champion that's going to do work for you forever. Ayla's an amazing tank still. You know, Lucius has gotten better as a DPS, but really wants that full Erois group, whereas Sentry and Ayla can exist outside of that group. So, you know, that's the information I would give you, and then let you make your own decision. Bill the Kraken. Is that send a bill to the Kraken, or is Bill the name of the Kraken? Do you have information that you can share? There's the thing. Do you have information that you can share? I appreciate the qualifier there, because here's the thing with they're asking about future content. If I know about future content, and I do know about some future content, can't share it. I can't share it. So do you have information that you can share about new patrons coming in the game? No. And how long we have to wait? No idea. Like I said, the most I know is that I could share is that I think they've pretty much said publicly is that they've kind of held back from adding more patrons because of the community's complaints about challenges and how much time patron challenges take. How basically doing patron challenges for 4 patrons every week for newer players who have just acquired all 4. It is rough. It can be a lot of time. And if you're trying to 100% everything, and my recommendation is don't bother trying, but people see goals and they do them. That's just what people do. I get it. For veteran players, it takes 24 hours or less to do everything for all 4 players. But so what they're looking at is like, hey, these new to mid game players are having a lot of trouble getting all the challenges done, and that's a pain point for them. And so they haven't added new patrons. So until they can make that better, and offline progress, I believe the new offline progress is part of the solution for that. Because while I have 2 parties that are not making progress, great. While these have mysteriously stopped, whatever. There's a bug right now. I already know what's causing this. I've already reported it with a follow-up with more information. I can tell you that while I was testing and I had Vajra, Strahd, and Zariel set up in the background, and on Mondays I would do Mert as my active stuff first. Once I finished all of Mert and switched over to these, they'd already knocked out a ton of stuff for me. A ton of stuff. And it made it super easy. And if I had tried to really specifically build formations that didn't compete with each other, I could probably have gotten even more stuff done in the background. But what I would do is just throw one champion into these and let it run. So I know offline progress really is going to help alleviate that for a lot of people. The new offline background progress as it starts getting to all the platforms. And I think whatever they have planned in Q1 will be the next piece of that puzzle. And if all of that really goes well, then we may see, then I would personally then expect another patron in 2023. Don Collier, do you know when a 5th party for use with a core will be unlocked? I really think that that's going to depend on offline progress. Like as long as this new offline progress fix goes through and works well, and it worked in the beta really well, but I think it launched with a bad bug that just came out of nowhere, unfortunately. I think that we'll probably see another party get added because, sure. Might they wait until there's a 5th patron? Maybe. 1 party per patron. Makes sense. But then again, so does having 1 generic party and then 1 party per patron. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, I was shocked that we got the 4th one when we did. But I think now with the new offline progress, it's probably going to be good. Potion, the code isn't too long. You can actually swap. Under unlock a locked chest down in the bottom left, it says 16 characters. Boom. 12 characters, 16 characters. And if you copy paste from the chat, it automatically adjusts it for you. Shevik, question about season rewards. I know the Hunter Pack is valuable, but I'm thinking the Modron chests are more important. I'm only 1% of completing the last 3 patrons and have a few Hunter's potions, so not sure getting more would be that helpful. Please give me your years of experience. Am I going to regret passing the potions by? Okay, look. Okay, look. Here's what I will tell you. When I finally got to tier 11, my first thing to pick up was the 20,000 tokens, because why not? Right? Then I threw 5,000 of them at the Hunter Potion Pack, because it was a one-time buy. I'll be honest, I don't use the Gold Hunter or the Psychomorphic Potion energy ones that much. But getting 2 potions of the Gem Hunter at end game for me is huge. 7 days of boosted gems on a dedicated automated Briv gem farm, which I'll be getting back into once the season ends. That's a lot of gems. That's a lot of gems. So that's a big deal to me, and it was enough for me to throw 5,000 at. It was enough for me to throw 5,000 at. That's the cost of this. So 5 of that 20,000 went to that. Everything else I'm dumping into modron component chests. No, this is on the season pass version. This is on the paid version. So for somebody who bought the season pass, you grab the currency. I do recommend grabbing the 100 potion packs, even if you're just holding on to the gem 100 potions for now, and you're going to use them later. They pay off. They are worth you dropping. In my opinion, they're worth you dropping 5,000 of this currency on, and then dump every other amount of currency you can into the modron component chests. I am up to how many? I have bought 21. I've bought 7 of those packs so far, and they're worth it. They're worth it from a modron core for the pipe game. But yeah, I would give up. You're basically giving up 6 chests, modron component chests, to get those 2 gem hunter potions. Personally, that's worth it for me. I know that the modron component chests are more limited. I just also know that like 6 of them, I'm willing to give up 6 of them for a lot more gems. Like, just so many more gems. Zillows, free time gate, Wulfgar or Rosie? Either one. They're in the same slot. I would rate them roughly the same. Do you want a DPS or a tank? Yeah. I mean, Rosie has the ability to deflect missile for speed formations. You put her in the front, and then you don't potentially get a random arrow shutting Shandy's speed effect off. There you go. Kermie, hey Gaarawarr, talking about Patron's influence. How should I manage it? Started by using it as I would with favor buying perks, but later realized I need influence to purchase modron course too. Well, that's not how it works. So let me talk on that. We'll stay in this for a moment. So yes, I was over here spending and resetting and spending influence, but the measure over here is different from the measure in the shop. It is the same total, but you'll see, like, I only have 1 EO9 influence available on the perk side, but in the shop it says I have 235 EO9, because this is, over here in the shop, it tracks your total earned over all time. Total earned over all time. So when I spend it over here, it does not get removed over here. Okay? So buy your perks. Unlike with favor and bless, this is a different system from favor and blessings. Use your influence to buy perks. That's the first thing you should do when you complete a variant, is come over and upgrade your perks. With the shop, it's just a high water mark. It's like how much have you earned all time, and it's going to unlock down the list. It's going to unlock down the list. So you can make your progress to this. Oh God, I haven't bought these this week. You can make your progress to your modron component chest as I frantically take care of this. While also upgrading perks. You can do them both at the same time, so don't worry about that. Do not worry about that. Hey, there's more modron component chests for me. Yeah. Riffraff, I just unlocked tier 11 on seasons. Which reward do you think holds the most value to spam, or do you think it's better to spread the wealth? I think I just kind of went over this, so that was good timing. I do think if you're on the season pass, you buy the pack of gem hunter potions, or the pack of potions, this pack of potions, the 100 potion pack, and then you spam modron component chests. If you are on the free to play, if I remember correctly, this is the one you spam. For me personally, I think this is the one because I think this is available. No thanks. This is available. Scroll packs. They call it the scroll pack. They shouldn't. Should call it the contract pack, because these are scrolls. But whatever. I would just do this. This is going to give you bounty contracts, lots and lots of bounty contracts. Fantastic for events, right? And then lots of blacksmithing contracts. That's just power to your champions, right? So I would, on the free to play, if I'd been full free to play, I would have spammed this pack. But because I'm on pay to play, I bought this and then I spam this. Thoughts on season 1 not lasting until season 2 comes out? That's fantastic. It's fantastic. A season less time. Well, it needs to be. There needs to be some downtime. You need to not, I mean, the seasons add more work and you kind of need to be like, okay. Now I can focus on not doing seasons for a little bit. All right. Seasons last for 10 weeks. They're called seasons here literally because they're named them after they're after, like the influence you can see, or the favor. It's autumn's favor. So there will be like a winter's favor probably for the next season. This is my guess. And then a spring favor and a summer favor. I mean, probably whatever. That's going to be the similar things. So, and then there's they said anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, which means it might adjust. Mathematically, it's 3 weeks between seasons, but it might adjust 2 to 4 weeks between seasons. So you'll have anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks where you're not doing a season. They have already, it is my understanding, they've already locked in season 2 and everything is ready to go. And they're currently working on season 3 already. So they have to, because of how far in advance they have to prep content for pushing to all the platforms. Switch, I'm talking about Switch. I'm talking about Nintendo Switch. Because of the way they have to prep stuff so far in advance, because they're limited on how many patches they can do on certain platforms. Again, I'm talking about Switch. They're already doing season 3. I mean, they build content out that far in advance all the time because of this, but like they have champions that are already working on January, and it also because at the end of the year they lose 2 weeks, right? Because they take 2 weeks. If you don't know this, folks, they're taking 2 weeks off at the end of the year. They will be radio silent. They will have people watching for major issues, of course, but we will have events and seasons and stuff rolling and time gates and things. But there will be like no streams, and they won't necessarily be posting regularly. But they'll have people ready in case of an emergency. If a weekly quest is hidden behind 10 others, does it still advance? No. So it's not weekly. I thought they should have called them weekly, but then I understood better afterwards that they're around forever. It is, say, week 8. It's because that's when it arrives. But if it's off the screen, it's not incrementing, is my understanding. So you have to work off things on this list of 10. Only 10 can be active and usable at a time. As you complete one, it will load a new one in, and then you can start working on that one. It's my understanding it does not build up in the background. Natiri, was there any more information about missions being removed that are difficult for new players? Trials of Tiamat, it's a week 1 mission. Okay, that's the seasonal quest. So unlocking Trials of Tiamat, or like completing a trial or something like that, was one of the quests. I don't know. It is my understanding that was a conscious choice to put that in week 1, because if you are a regular player it should take less than 10 weeks to get to trials if you play regularly. And if you don't, well, it sits there and you've got 9 other slots for stuff that you can complete. But part of this system is them encouraging you to interact with other parts of the game, and make those long-term goals for yourself if they weren't already. So they're trying to encourage you to progress and unlock things. Because for a lot of people, what happened when week 1, when they go do a trial? I don't have trials. Where's trials? Well, that's a valid question to ask, and an important one for a new player. Where's trials? How do I unlock trials? And then somebody tells you, and then you now have a goal to work towards. So sometimes these things are kind of progress cues for you. And I don't know. I know there was a lot of negative feedback about it, but I don't know that it was necessarily a bad thing overall, considering there's nothing else in this game currently that pushes you towards content. There isn't a system that exists that pushes you towards content. Like Boonanigan said, it's kind of a breadcrumb. Yeah, it was a breadcrumb to lead you to trials. And I think in that case, because they consciously put it at week 1, they made all of these consciously for each week. They put them there for a reason. Yeah, I don't think it was that bad. Do I know if they're going to do it again? I have no idea. We'll find out when Season 2 comes around. But here's the thing. Season 2 was being worked on and completed during Season 1, so may not have taken into account every last bit of feedback in the way that Season 3 will probably be a bigger iteration. Because Season 3, they're starting working on it now. It's going to have the majority of... It will probably have a lot more feedback in it. But Season 2 will generate feedback, right? Which means then Season 4 will be iterated probably based off feedback from Season 2. So there's always going to be a bit of a lag because of development cycles and the way they have to build things out in advance for Switch. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, we have to wait and see. Brent Copeland, Season 1, Tier 11, what should you go for? All favorite? No. Yeah, I think we just did that. I mean, I don't think the favor bonus... Here's the thing. Here's why I skipped the favor bonus. This is 50%. I have E36 favor. 1.86 E36 favor. This reward gets me 50% more favor. The way I understand that reward, I haven't picked it up. The way I understand that reward is it would take me up this total 1.86 E36 up 50% more. That's not that big of a deal. Now, if it instead you buying it, I'm not going to test it. If buying it gives me 50% more here, that's a bigger deal. But I think it's just giving you 50% more up here, which then will translate into a minor percentage change here. I didn't do seasons for the favor. This is a decent boost for because it boosts every campaign when it's done. I'm okay with it sitting there. For me, the bigger progress for me that I care about is all of these modron component chests. And the bigger progress if I was on free to play, all of these bounty contracts and blacksmithing contracts. Now, if you want to throw one in and see what happens, let me know, but I didn't rate it that highly. Even if it was a 50% to the total, I still wouldn't rate it that highly. Because I have a lot of favor. I don't need those kind of favor bonuses. Riffraff, is the Hero's Core even worth leveling up? If you want to continue to use the Heroes of Erois, yeah. Yeah. I would say even beyond that, leveling it to 15 gets you 14 modron component chests. So yeah, leveling it up matters. Leveling it up matters. Niscus says they already tested it. It increases the whole number, not the percentage after the conversion. So I'm taking that as it increases this. Which, yes, that's what it should do. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a thing that I worry about. Freeman, does that mean you would recommend to save the gem potion until one has a 4-jump Briv? Honestly, yeah. If that's a thing, if you have made a decision that you are going to work towards a 4-jump automated Briv gem farming setup, hold on to that hunter potion. It's going to get you so much more. Now, if that's not a thing you worry about, then just don't use it until you have a solid gem farming setup and you plan to spend like a week gem farming. Or a week just actively pushing through lots and lots of adventurous campaigns. It's gonna do, if you're going to be actively playing for a week, either pushing through lots of variants and campaign stuff, or just gem farming, it can get you. It's going to be nice for you, and it might help you get you to your Briv to the 4 jump. But if you're already on the way there and you know you can get there just fine, save it for that 4 jump Briv. Cloudy skies. With the new campaign and additional variants, will they likely be expanding the available rewards in the patron shops? Occasionally they do add rewards to the bottom. I haven't seen that in a while, but occasionally they will add new rewards to the patron shops. They haven't mentioned. I don't think anybody's asked about that. Ask that on Dev Insights. Maybe that's a question that we should have asked, and maybe they'll answer. And maybe there's a reason why they haven't done that recently. Full epic and all champs and sitting on a ton of patron currency. Want to know if I should just burn it on chests for gear levels. I'm currently sitting on mine. I've got EO6, EO8, EO9, EO9. Oh wait, no. EO6, 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 EO6. I was looking at the wrong numbers. I'm working through getting all of my patron stuff done, and it's probably going to take the holiday break for me to get through it all. But yeah, I don't buy, because I'm full epic, I don't buy patron chests anymore. And I don't buy time gate pieces anymore. I just buy the modron components, so mine stacks up. So yeah, I just sit on mine currently. I don't think it's worth it for the minor item levels I would get buying chests. I would rather just I can get item levels. Here's the thing: I can get item levels on event champions, on all of those champions, just from blacksmithing contracts. So I'm holding on to that currency because it's valuable. I got to do a bit of a speed round. We don't have a lot of time left, folks. Before I speed round this, because there's about 9 questions left, and that's probably going to be it. I hope I can get through them all today. In about an hour after this stream, I do my second stream of the day. It's Final Fantasy Friday. I am going to beat that darn Final Fantasy IV pixel remaster if it kills me today, and it very well might. I think I've farmed up enough. I think we can knock it out pretty quickly. But come watch me finish Final Fantasy IV in about an hour after the stream ends on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. And then if we finish it, which we should, maybe we'll do a little behind the scenes with my D&D character coming up for the third stream of the day. Because later on tonight, 4 p.m. Pacifically speaking, I'm playing D&D. I'm playing D&D for charity. It's an Extra Life one-shot on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel. And yeah, I'm playing a character named Bandy. He's a wizard/warlock. Whose name is... I'm just giving this lore out for you for free. I'm giving lore out for free. His name is a nickname. It's literally B and E for breaking and entering. Bandy or Bandy, depending on how people knew him. So yes, I've got multiple more streams today. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll start Final Fantasy V. I don't know. And yes, the G Squared posted it correctly. Larking Rider, they all spelled it correctly in chat. Saturday starts with an F. Final Fantasy Saturday. All right, last questions. Is he a dwarf? Yes, he's a dwarf. Absolutely. Looks just like me. I made it real easy for me to cosplay him on stream. Graydon, no interest in the favor boost level 11 of the season rewards? Nope. Nope, I can earn my own favor. Kermie, I didn't and won't get the season pass. Noticed I can buy 50% favor repeatedly, so I did spend a lot there. Yeah, I wouldn't have, but I mean, it's fine. Early on, it might be okay. I would still go contracts. Didn't notice any increase. Yeah, because it's to the total and not to the overall bonus. So you want to be spending that on blacksmithing contracts going forward with the rest of the season. Climate change, you're real. I already knew that, but it's, confirmation's nice. How long does it take to work through the tiers? Is it worth it to buy the season pass if I'm currently only on level 9, tier 3? I don't know that you would get very far. I mean, here's the thing. I think there's good rewards worth it. But I don't know how far you're going to get. If you're a newer player, I would say no. I don't think season 1 was very new player friendly. So I would say don't. I would say probably not. If you're only on tier 3, I would say probably no. Yeah, I mean, you would, if you owned Nova, Ayla, and Lucius, it might be worth it for the item levels you would get from them, and you'd probably end up getting to tier 4 and get even more. So yeah, if you own Ayla, Nova, and Lucius, or at least Ayla, it might be worth it to throw down $10 to get all those item levels, but that's a disposable income question. Merlin, what level do you consider deep for a deep run? That's subjective to the person. Currently, my deep runs are in the 1400s. Some people in this game are like 2000. Some people might only be 500. It really depends. It really depends. Random, only huge potions favor and contracts on free, not even Tiamat. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Then I would do the contract pack. Yeah. The Tiamat one isn't worth it for anybody, honestly. The Weeb Army, is there a point to resetting patron influence spent on patron blessing on patron perks? They're not blessings, but you got the influence right. Proud of you. Yes, and I went over that on the stream. Depending on what you're doing, like if you're working Mert variants, you want to reset and focus your favor onto the local side, more on the local side than on the global. If you're doing any other patron stuff that isn't Mert, you would then focus more on the reset and focus more on the global side. And you do that for each patron as you're doing content. So if you're not working on their content, you should all be on global. If you are working on their content, you should redo it and put it on local until the point where you can just, they're all capped, right? The Mole's Revenge, I've already got 1,000 winners favor. Should I assume this is a bug? Yes. I think season 2 kind of went live for a blip moment and people got some of it. Can Ravip into Avernus in a handbasket. Delana is set and supposed to be the only DPS champ allowed, yet Kent is now also in my party. Dev whoopsie, or am I missing something? It's probably a dev whoopsie. You can report it, but yeah, you can report it. Bananigans, where's the Infinity Gauntlet familiar obtained on click damage field? Oh, that's the Hand of Vecna. That's the Hand of Vecna. I don't remember. I think it was a limited time thing and made for free, and I think maybe it'll end up in the gem shop, but it might have been a cash purchase, and it'll end up in the wild hour. I don't remember. They don't tell us. We need that information in the game. Once you own it, there's no way to know, unless you just remember. Lesh, would the Heroes core work for gem farming using Heroes champs, or would that not be its purpose? I mean, it doesn't. If it's not the gem farm, I mean, in the background, as long as automation is set up, but that's available at level 1. You could use it to grind in a background party for gems, but you wouldn't use it in an active party because you use the speed. You'd use the speed one. Oh, it was free with the Steam thing. Okay, so it'll end up in the gem shop. Thank you, folks. What do you mean solid gem farming team? Guardian. Could you say a little more? You need a lot of speed champions. So like Human and Deacon and Shandy. Not necessarily Briv, because Briv is more for the Briv gem farming. Human, Deacon, Shandy, maybe Nahara and Sentry. Those would get you a solid speed team. And last question, Lars Assist, would it be worth buying 5x season chests in tier 11s if you don't have all epic on your Heroes champions? I think it would be no. I don't think so, no. I think you want to just spend 3 time gate pieces to go do a time gate for them and work on them that way. If you don't have time gate pieces, they've had some available Hunger the Farm Realm. That's it, folks. We made it through all the questions, I hope. See you all in an hour on my channel. We're going out because I'm playing Dungeons & Dragons tonight. The outro song is 3 cheers for the Dungeon Masters. Thanks for hanging out, folks. See you later today.
This one's for the Dungeon Masters, weaving stories each week anew. Scheduling can be a disaster, but they always pull us through. We raise our glass to you with heartfelt cheers, even though you brought us tears. You guided us through thick and thin for many days and many years. This one's for the NPCs, both prepared and on the fly. Denizens of the world we share, to both love and terrorize. Will our heroes live or will they die? We'll just have to improvise. Tell us to roll and give it a try. Then it's time to throw the dice. 3 cheers for the dungeon masters for giving us their all. 3 cheers for the story crafters. Please join us in our cause. This one's for the mighty monsters, the demons and the gods. The fireballs and lightning bolts cast from staves, wands and rods.